I've often thought, what would I like for people to think about me?
Mm-hmm.
He was a good guy and he cared. That would be it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing more.
Now there's a steal by Murray. Underneath the DJ, lays it in.
Pierce for three. It's good. Tatum puts up a three.
Welcome to the Celtics Rewind. I'm JP.
And I am Nat The GM. What's up, y'all?
Man, what an amazing quote by Jerry West. So this is Celtics Rewind. Before we get into the last two games between the Mavs and the Celtics, unfortunately, we lost a legend, an icon, the greatest executive in NBA history, could be in sports. One of the greatest players of all time, Jerry West. Jerry West passed away at the age of 86. I'm JP, the franchise. Got Nat The GM, and we have our special guest, Mavs Outsider from the Mavs Outsider Podcast. We got Bibs in the building. Man, you know, like before the game began, like we just got hit with this unfortunate news. Bibs, I'll start with you. What's your memories of Jerry West, and how would you want to remember Jerry West?
Yeah, so actually, Jerry West, I try to be well versed on the history of the game and look back and go through. I did a thing called the GOAT series a couple years ago where I went all the way back to the early years, 1947, year by year, broke down stats, playoff runs, et cetera, and so forth to try to figure out who were some of the greatest players of all time. Did research, read up on people, and Jerry West is a guy that stood out because we know who he is. We know he's the logo, but I don't think a lot of people really know what his story is as far as being an NBA player. This is a guy that probably would have got clowned a lot in today's game because he lost a lot. He got there many times and lost to the point where he won a Finals MVP in a loss.
Wow.
And he only won after Wilt Chamberlain came along and they were able to get over the mountaintop. But this is a guy that people look at him, they know he's a point guard. I don't think they realize he took a lot of outside shots. No 3-point line. We don't know. He was a guy that took a lot of outside shots. He had a ridiculous wingspan. And a lot of people don't know he had bounce. Like they said, he could reach 16 inches above the rim. You can't picture that. You can't think about that. So like, as far as a basketball talent, I don't think he gets as much love as he should. And that's really what sticks out for me is that this was a guy that was a tremendous talent on the court and then went on to be an amazing executive and really shaped the game for the rest of his life.
I agree 100%. Nat, same question. How would you want to remember Jerry West? Your memories of Jerry West?
Insane to be a player that you get to the finals 9 times. You know, you win once, but in losses, like you get a Finals MVP, but you got no league MVP. Like, I find that to be crazy. So I think he had about 25,000 career points, a little over that. 25,000 career points, average about 27 a game, and no 3-point line. So like Biz was saying, if you had that 3-point line, what would that really look like? So he is like NBA. When you think of basketball, he's one of the guys that personifies, like what we love, So to be 86 and that's a long time. That's a long time. You've lived many decades. You've got to witness many great teams, and and it just, that's a lot of time, y'all. 86 years is a lot of time. Like, you old enough to, like where you played so many damn years ago, 60 plus years ago, and you're also young enough to have seen Kobe, Jordan, LeBron. That's crazy. Giannis, you've been able to see all of those guys, Magic, you know, like, so I would love, you know, to, you know, maybe I got to look it up more, but maybe just like understand what the NBA looks like through his eyes because he's seen it damn near all. You know what I'm saying? So like, that's kind of just how I feel about it. I love when guys are or people in general are allowed to get older because it's a gift, honestly, you know, and you know, you got to cherish your life because one day, you know, I'm 34, the next minute I turn around, I'll be 84. And I would have hoped to have lived through a lot of decades where I can say I've seen, you know, Kobe, you know, I've seen LeBron, I've seen, you know, Giannis, you know, I've seen, you know, Joker, you know, and Luca and all these guys. I just want to be able to say, and then I've seen the next person coming out in 10 to 20 years and be like, well, let me tell you about 30 years ago, we had a guy named this. So shout out to, you know, Jerry West. It's nothing but love always.
So for sure. And what you were saying, like, you know, looking at a lens through his eyes, one of the best like people to like interview, such a really nice guy. And like he just talks about basketball all day. You feel like a kid in the candy store. Like I was watching the Ultimate Draft, and for him to be like one of the general managers for a fantasy draft and just listening to him speak about these players is just like, wow, like this is the guy that we look at as the greatest executive of all time, saw the potential of Kobe Bryant, signed Shaquille O'Neal to the Lakers, build that Showtime Lakers, built that Warriors franchise team. I mean, he does so much and turned everything into gold. And then for people that want to look at Jerry West, the player, I would recommend to go look at Jerry West's highlights from the Wilt Chamberlain archive. Shout out to Dom Draper with his live show yesterday. Just phenomenal highlights, really great quality too as well. And you was talking about his vertical. Man, there was one clip, he was jumping up super high to like almost to the top of the backboard. I'm like, man, Jerry West was ahead of his time as a player. Just look him up. I don't even have to say anything more. But yeah, Jerry West passed away at the age of 86. With a beautiful tribute with the Game 3 last night for Jerry West with the video. So speaking of the finals, the last two games between the Celtics and the Mavericks, Boston, you know, it was kind of like close games. But then Boston prevailed at the end of the day, and just so fortunate enough to have Nat the Celtics perspective as long as and we have Bibs over here with the Mavericks perspective. So I'm gonna start with the Mavericks perspective. So Bibs, we was talking before the show began about the Mavericks and their problems. What did you see for the Mavericks perspective of how they did in Game 2 and Game 3? What all the problems with that the Mavericks are having?
So, you know, I do have a podcast, and we've taken the task of responding to these games, you know, directly in the aftermath. And we spent a lot of the talk after Game 2 talking about Kyrie's ineffectiveness. Kyrie, I don't know. It felt like the fans were actually bothering him. Like when the fans are booing him every time he touches the ball, and it felt like he was trying to do things to try to silence them, and it just wasn't working out. And his inability to step up and be a scorer, that if he can't score, then what is he actually providing for us? Like, what is he doing for us? Luka trying to carry the team on his back made it a close game. You know, there was a controversial play at the end where PJ Washington gets the breakaway. Jaylen Brown might have had a hand in his lower, whatever. You know, those things happen over the course of the game. There's probably a similar play with Tatum or somebody on the Celtics. It is what it is. And it was fun. You know, it's fun to have a close game. It's tough to lose, and to lose in a way where you can see that one of your players that you depend on is not doing their job. So the Game 2 definitely was a tough one from that perspective, but it also gave me hope that anybody would step up once we went back home. You know, the role players, the others, if you will, are supposed to play better at home. So that was what I was hoping for coming out of Game 2. Luka continuing to be Luka, and anybody deciding to come along for the ride. But as we saw in Game 3, it didn't occur. We won't get ahead of ourselves, though.
I feel that. And Nat, from the Celtics perspective, what did you see in Game 2 and Game 3 that the Celtics did well, and what did the problems that Celtics occurred during both those games?
I think I've said from day one, I think that Dallas was always out of place playing Boston. I didn't understand it specifically why people thought it would be close. Because if you go and you can take out Luka, Kyrie, Jaylen Brown, and Tatum, and then you look at the rest, it still doesn't match up. I was like, I don't see it. And I've watched all of them very closely because I had Dallas, in the series in the playoffs. I was like, they're gonna beat Minnesota. Even when everybody's on that high with Minnesota, I said, man, let me tell you something. I was like, the way Minnesota plays, they go on these these cold spurts. And, Luka and Kyrie can get a bucket at any point in time. I'm gonna trust the two closers. That just they play just a lot better together, in my opinion. And I said that makes sense why they're gonna win to me. And I did the same thing with OKC. I couldn't understand the OKC hype. I just did their babies. So I think when they got to Boston, I was just like, they're outmatched, and it's not necessarily their fault. You can only beat who you can beat, but DJJ, have 5 points, or 2 points, you can't do that. Gafford for a while couldn't get going. Lively supposed to be lively for them off the bench, and he just really couldn't get it going. It's hard to play this Boston Celtics team because, one thing I feel like you always got to go with is the team with the elite wings. And that's what Boston has. It's hard to hold them, and then it's like you're worried about KP, as well. But then you forget KP sits down. There are other bigs that are good at different things on the Celtics roster. It's just how it was created, Tillman, he could come out, and he could give you solid minutes. He's a smart big man, that's the reason why they went to go get him. He knows how to move his body. He doesn't play out of control. He rebounds, he blocks shots, he moves his feet. That guy, you're going to have to account for him on the floor. And on top of that, he's been working on shooting 3-pointers for months. If you really think about it, he's been at practice. Every practice, if you catch videos, it's always Tillman in that corner three. So I just think that, Dallas needs more. And I didn't see how, why they would necessarily push it to a game 6 or a game 7. I said Boston in 5, because I thought game 3 Dallas would have took that, but things happen. But this is Luka's first finals. Kyrie has been here before. He's won before and he's lost quite a few times. But he's also been swept by the same Celtics team, and I think people forget that. Boston understands Kyrie. They know how to play him. They know how to get in his head, too. He acts like they don't. Oh, it's not that loud and all that stuff. Well, why don't you have 30 points? Put up 30 then, show me, and it's like he didn't do those things. So, I mean, Boston, you just kind of got to tip your hat, especially to Joe. I really do want to tip my hat to Joe because I think he's been playing chess for a long time. And I think it takes a little bit for, people to catch up, including myself, because sometimes I'm looking at him like, I don't know what you're doing, but I have to ride with you, So that's kind of just how I saw game 2 and 3. It's just that willpower and the progression of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown understanding I may be 12 or 26, but I'm gonna draw 2 of y'all to free up this other guy. I'm gonna dish this ball. I'm gonna hit this guy in the corner. So it's things they weren't doing the last 2 years. So I'm just very proud at the end of the day, honestly.
Yeah, and I can just piggyback in the way the Celtics were constructed. This is a well-constructed team, and to your point about Joe, he plays the right guys at the right time. From my perspective, I look at KP going down and everybody's talking about Luke Cornett. He didn't come with Luke Cornett. He came with Xavier Tillman. Tillman's a guy I really like coming out of college. And when he hit the three, people seem to be like so stunned and appalled by it. But like he was working, he took some threes in college, if I'm not mistaken. And that was one of the things I said, like, if he develops that, he's going to be a really valuable reserve or maybe even starter for somebody. Even going back to before this season, when we talk about roster construction, I had my eyes on Neemias Queta. Like, I really wanted him to get into our system as a developmental big. I think he has a lot of potential. Celtics went and scooped him up. It's like the rich keep getting richer over there. But I think the biggest thing for the Celtics that I can have to take my hat off is, like you said, the maturity of Tatum and Brown. Brown a little bit more so than Tatum. Tatum still has about 5 to 10. I'm going to just throw this up because I can type shots. But y'all can afford that. Y'all can afford that because y'all don't make a lot of other mistakes. Jaylen Brown seems to pick his spots extremely well. Like, I can't say I've ever seen Jaylen force anything in this series, and you don't have to. The system works that well. Our defense has that many holes. If you just move the ball like you're supposed to, you're going to get good looks. And watching the games is frustrating as a Mavericks fan from that perspective. It was why I was cool with the idea of moving on from Jalen Brunson long term, because I don't want Luka next to another guy who can't defend. We trade for Kyrie. Okay, this is a souped up scorer. It's fine temporarily, but I think long term, if we're trying to win championships, the guy next to Luka has to be a two-way player. You talked about DJJ. Like right now, it was between DJJ or Josh Green as the starting three. That's not getting it done. That's not it. So that's a clear area of upgrade. You mentioned the wings. That is what we would need to get as a two-way wing in the offseason. Josh Green is not taking that step, and DJJ is probably peaking right now. That is a very clear area of improvement. As far as the Mavs losing the series, sweep or not, we weren't supposed to be here from most people's perspective. We beat 3 teams that were higher seeds than us to get here. So we're technically ahead of schedule. The core is young. Luka's 25. Gafford's 25. PJ's 25. Josh Green is 23. Jaden Hardy's 21. Besides Kyrie, everybody else is in their 20s as far as the core is concerned. So I can't, I'm not devastated. I probably feel like Celtics fans might have felt a few years ago when they were going on their runs, and Tatum and Brown are in their prime now. They're 26, 27. This is when they're supposed to start winning. They're on time. We're ahead. We got that first taste. Luka's going to get his heart broke, whatever. I personally, I can't be that upset. But game 3, I have to say this. I'm not a Jason Kidd fan. Never been a Jason Kidd fan for on and off the court purposes. Jason Mid reared his head in game 3. Because if you look at game 2, we were effective with a lot of things, and it looked like there was stuff to build on. But he came into game 3 and approached it as a game 1. We played 11 players. Early in the second quarter, we'd already played 11 players. He took out Luka on a hot streak. He called a timeout when the Mavs were on a 20-2 run. He played Tim Hardaway Jr. 15 minutes after Tim Hardaway Jr. had lost his job. He didn't just get benched. He didn't get injured. He lost his job in the run up to the finals. He was ineffective. Josh Green, Jaden Hardy were more effective. And somehow in game 3, Jason Kidd decides Tim Hardaway Jr. is the answer. Plays him 15 minutes. He does absolutely nothing. We got destroyed in the Tim Hardaway Jr. minutes. Luka fouls out. And Tim Hardaway Jr. is the guy you put in? Based on what? So, the flaws are there. Unfortunately, we signed Jason Kidd to an extension, so any dream I might have had in upgrading the coaching role is dead for now. But other than that, man, it's just all the things that I feared. And I'll be honest, every single series, I've had my fears going into the series. Yes, we can beat this team, but let me see it play out. We've gotten it done 3 times. This time, the other side has too many weapons, and their coach is not. His chess pieces are moving exactly where they're supposed to go, and it's ugly. It's gonna end probably gonna be a sweep unless Luka comes out and does something insane in the next game. Kyrie does his job, and then one other person does something we don't expect. The Celtics they have way more room for error than we do, and right now they're executing like a team that's been there before and really wants to win.
Well said. Do y'all know who I blame for the Mavericks struggles in the finals? You would not guess who I blame.
It's
Michael Finley. The reason
gosh.
Michael Finley is because you took Luka's drink away. He was drinking just fine. If you didn't took his drink away, maybe the Mavericks could have had like 1 or 2 games in the series, but you just took his drink away, and now he is looking for a drink. So, Michael Finley, if you can heal this, go to the store, Miller Lights, Bud Lights, Modelo, Don Julio, something. Just go give Luka a drink. And then maybe, just maybe, Luka the next game could drop 50 points with him having a built belly. But you took the drink away from him. So, Michael Finley, you deserve this blame for the Mavericks struggle. Luka needs a drink. Luka needs a drink. Luka needs a drink.
I saw somebody tweet the Mavs are 0-3 since Michael Finley took Luka's beer. I was, oh, come on, man.
Let me tell you something. Luka has got to, 30 points is great. Eight rebounds. It's great. It's awesome. Get your little 6, 7, 8 assists. Great. But it's the timing of these things as well. What are you doing, out there, One thing I can say about somebody like Steph Curry has always been, troubled as far as, defensively. But one of the reasons why I think that you didn't take him out a lot of times is his effort. He found a way to be effective because his effort. You weren't he wasn't gonna lay down for you. He wasn't just gonna move by and let you. He knew where you were going, what you were doing. It's just a matter of if he could effectively defend and at least hold you enough, to at least get that second defender and that help. And I would love to see Luka graduate to understanding that, because it's hard. It's hard, man, to watch somebody not give a damn about the other side of the ball. It's hard. My favorite player is Kevin Garnett. My favorite big man, at least, is Kevin Garnett. And I'm spoiled a little bit, having that kind of guy as my favorite, because he plays both ends, and he never quit, makes the right reads, the hell of an elite defender. And to watch other people just not give a damn, it is effort. Half of it is effort. Do I care? And he's just watching, and then somebody gets by him, and then he does this pause, and he's like, and just watching that, I'm just like, you don't need a fucking beer, bro. You don't deserve a beer. That's why you got your beer taken, okay? You don't need a damn beer, all right? No more beer. I want to see you defend. I want to see you care. And then it's half the time Kyrie tries. He tries to get a little body on somebody and whatever. I've seen that from Kyrie a few years now. But he'll try. But he's not much he can do. He's a little guy. The people that he's defending, ain't nothing he can do. So that would be my hope for, Luka going forward. Just try. Try. Don't flop. Don't, do that extra head thing. Or I think he's injured because he falls on the floor too damn much, to be honest with you. If he stays,
let me jump in on that.
Yeah.
Let me jump in on that. So you might not see my timeline much, but I get into it with these Luka stands all the time because I actually criticize him on a regular basis. And one of the things I always say, he falls so unathletically. He'll be falling, but then he makes it worse by not catching himself or whatever. And you just hear him thud to the ground. It's I literally have seen him hurt himself like that. And it looks painful half the time. It's you're dealing with all these tweaks and whatnot every player is, right? Every player has tweaks and injuries that they're going through. How are you helping yourself by flopping your body to the ground unnecessarily a lot of the time? Like, stop, get up, protect yourself. And it's frustrating from that perspective. You talked about the defensive effort. I spent a lot of time on the podcast last night talking about it. I don't expect Luka to be a clamp guy. Like, I'm not expecting that. Talk about Kevin Garnett. Let's go Dirk Nowitzki, right? Probably one of the greatest offensive players. Nobody could do anything with him, whatever. The knock on him is always, he doesn't defend, et cetera, and so forth. But if you go back to playoff runs, you're not going to find Dirk Nowitzki getting cooked consistently in a game-to-game basis. He's doing his job. He's moving his feet. He's hustling. And I think he averaged, for a while, he was averaging almost 15 rebounds a game in the playoffs. It slowly diminished over the course of his career as he got older, but I think he's one of like a handful of players to average 20 and 10 in the playoffs for his career, because while he's not up here defending the rim consistently, he's ending that possession by getting to the glass, by boxing out, doing his job. Luka's not doing these things. I'm consistently watching Luka. There was a play last night, and it made me so mad in the moment. I think so. I can't remember if it was PJ or whoever was guarding Brown at the top of the key. Luka was at the free throw line or so. He gets by PJ. Luka's there. Luka pretty much moved out of his way and watched. And then next thing I know, Brown is swinging on the rim. It's like, do something. Pretend to do something at least. God, dog. There's a play where Luka's standing on the block, left side of the block on the baseline, guarding whoever was the big. The Celtics start bringing motion. Players are switching. Luka's just turning his head left and right. He's not picking up anybody. And it's like, what are you doing? How am I as PJ Washington or as DJJ, as Josh Green, who's running from baseline to baseline, trying to catch up, trying to cover you? How am I supposed to feel good about doing that when I know you're just standing there? Injuries or not, I just don't see the passion, the effort that I would like to see. And then, okay, you don't have the mobility. You just want to stand close to the paint. Box out. Not doing that. I'm watching Drew Holiday run around you and get offensive rebounds and putbacks. So what are you contributing on that end? I see people putting, Luka's defensive rating in this series is the highest on the team. The team gets cooked when he's off the court. I don't care. I'm watching the game and I'm watching Luka be a cone. And it's annoying me. It bothers me. As a person who wants to root for this dude, who wants to put him on a pedestal, I can't do that with full confidence and comfort when I know I'm seeing him not try on the defensive side of the ball. That's not good for me. I'd rather watch you get cooked trying than watch you not try at all.
Definitely well said, Bob. No, you're good. No, you're good. I love that you went. Michael Family, if you hear this, Jack Daniels or just something for Luka for Game 4. But let's go ahead and go into the quick hitters right here. I'm sorry, Nat. I had to do it. I had to do it. So for the quick hitters, I want to know how the rest of the series go. If you and also who's going to be your NBA Finals MVP right here at the end of the series. Bibs, I'll start with you. What is the future looking like for the Mavericks? Are they going to win one game or is it going to be a sweep? And who is your NBA Finals MVP?
So one thing I'll say is, nobody wants to get swept, right? Nobody wants to get swept. I've been on the other side of sweeps. I've posted the broom memes, and I don't want to be on the receiving end of one. That is not something I desire. I don't want to see a picture of Luka Doncic on the floor in a dustpan. I'm not trying to see that. So I would love to get Game 4. I think that there is a path to it. I also think the Celtics have another level they can get to. And so while we may step up, I could foresee a situation where the Celtics also take their game to another level because they don't want to play another game. They're ready to go home and pop the champagne all over our court and leave all the people in Dallas upset and sad. They've been waiting for years to hoist this trophy. They do not want to waste another game. So one thing that I haven't seen from Luka, I haven't seen that takeover game like he had in 2021, in 2020, in 2022. I haven't seen it from him. And early in the playoffs, I could say it was the injuries. I haven't really seen the lack of mobility offensively. Let me say that that he displayed in some of the earlier series. So if that's what it's got to be, I would like to see that. I would like to see PJ Washington step up and be more aggressive offensively. I would like to see Kyrie have another good game like he had the last time. And I would love to see us get a dub. Like I said, I think there's a path to it. Hopefully Jason Kidd stops trying too hard with the rotations and plays the guys that have actually done things along the way. I don't need to see Tim Hardaway Jr. again, ever. Like literally ever. Trade him after the season for a bag of Doritos. I don't care. Stale one, expired, open with worms in it. Like, get him off the team. I don't want to see him again. But yeah, I got to get one game. And then we can go from there. I feel like you asked a second question. I forgot what it was.
Yeah, quick one. NBA Finals MVP, the top of your head.
Oh, yeah. So right now, I probably give it to Jaylen Brown. Like I said, he's been consistent every game. He's done what he's had to do. I had some big plays on defense and offense. I think he's I really think he's the engine as far as the guy I expect to step up when needed and take over the game. So yeah, I would have to give it to Jaylen right now.
All right, Nat, same question to you. How do you see this series play out and NBA Finals MVP?
Well, my prediction was Dallas would take game 3 if they were going to take just one. Because I did have it, Boston in 5, and then Boston finish out 4-5 and 5 at home. But I think it'll be a sweep, honestly. I think that it'll just be done. I think that the Boston still has not played a perfect game. That's the weird part about like being in this position. They grinded out a lot of these games, and then there's some games where there's been some flurries of scoring and then they've been able to maintain leads. But there's another gear that they can get to. I think it'll be over in game 4. Like I said, it'll be a sweep. I think that Jaylen Brown is the finals MVP right now. He's had very loud moments. I think what goes unnoticed is why it's easier to have those moments, and it takes somebody to kind of like sacrifice and what they're doing, and that has been Jason Tatum. Tatum has, if you look at a lot of the defensive plays, it's the ones that you really don't want to put the camera on, but Tatum is in that. When you're talking about a big shot that Brown hit in a corner, it came from Jason Tatum's hand. So I think it's kind of just been perfectly played where I think it's Jaylen Brown as the finals MVP, but it'll never go unnoticed because I see what Tatum is doing, that if he shot maybe 4 or 5 less threes yesterday, they pretty much shot the same percentage, so it's just a matter of he gets up a lot of shots. He's always going to be a volume shooter. We know plenty of legends, that are volume shooters. Everybody doesn't shoot 50%. And it's a goddamn line. If somebody's going to sit here and say that, all the greats, everybody shoots over 50, 55%. It's bull, actually. He's going to always average about 47, 48% for his career. He'll be just under 50%, and he'll always give you 35% from the three, maybe a little lower. Because this man, I think, is in love with that 3 because I think he wants to be top 3 in 3-pointers all time. I really do. Can't nobody tell me anything differently. I really think he wants to be up there with Steph Curry because I don't have a damn answer for that other than that. So I'm going to say I'm right. And when he gets to top 3, he's going to be like, yeah, this is what I was playing for, So, but it is, Brown, but I do think that Jason drawing 2 and 3 people, and then it's like you leaving folks open. Hopefully you do make a shot, so it's unfortunate that he's going to get looked at like he's playing bad because you're stat watching, but you're not game watching and actually giving respect to what he's doing. He's guarding bigs, if we're being real. Like, he's guarding centers. No, you know how many bigs don't like guarding centers? You know how many bigs don't like actually playing the 5 and down there banging? Dude came in the league as a small forward. So I tip my hat to him. I think that I wish that there could be a small award that can go to him and for the little things, but it won't. But I say Finals MVP is Jaylen Brown.
As a Tatum hater, let me just say it's annoying to see him make the right decisions more often than I was hoping for, because that's definitely a thing that I did hope for, was that he would see it as I got to go outplay Luka and do a lot more of the selfish things that maybe he's done in the past, and seeing him take on the assignments like you said and stopping our bigs, like he's pretty much the reason that we're not getting these lobs. It's because he's covering those bigs often and picking them up and taking the contact or whatever. Like you said, that's the dirty work that people don't want to do and people don't want to acknowledge. But yeah, like there was a moment last night, even can't remember where it was. I think it was during a run, and he drove, and I was like, all right, that's a good place for him to force up a shot and miss real quick and keep the momentum on our side. But he made the pass, guy hit the shot, and I was like, yeah, Tatum, he wants this championship. He doesn't care about the glory, and that's unfortunate for me, but dope to hear from him. And I know people are giving him like, he's just saying that because he's supposed to, but I do genuinely think he's focused on getting this ring, and I think he expects to be back, and maybe later he'll worry about trying to get an MVP, but I think he wants the ring right now, and I can respect that even as a hater.
Oh, hey, it is what it is. We're all on the Jaylen Brown train and all that, so this is great for Finals MVP. Bibs, we appreciate you coming on to Celtics Rewind. We greatly appreciate your perspective and everything, and definitely check out Mavs Outsiders Podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. This is Celtics Rewind, JP the franchise, Nat the GM, Bibs Corner, and we'll see y'all later. Peace, y'all.
Later.